weekly updates. As you can see, I got my desk. Looks nice. You know, if you look at a certain angle, you could see the shininess. But I did a burn. But these are 6 pieces of wood that I squished together. And then I clamped and glued them and sanded them. And then that essentially makes my desk, which you can see from this side. Like if you're sitting back here, that's my desk. And then I also got the kitchen side done. So that's my countertop. So basically from this little section right here to like this section over here in the center, like right here, will be a 30-inch sink that will go there and then dip under. And then this side over here will stay open. And then underneath this area that you can't see that good right now, I'll have a slide out burner. And the burners will slide out right here. And then it'll essentially extend it out this way. So you have all this prep surface. Then you have your sink here that's going to have the workstation built into it that you can like cut your meats. And all the blood and everything won't go on my counter. It'll go into the sink, into the gray tank underneath. But yeah, as you can see, these are 6 pieces of wood too that I glued together. But found they have some really cool colors in them. Like if you look at that, it's got really cool colors on top of it. The epoxy, it's not epoxy, it's a polyurethane. It's not perfect, but the temperature dropped outside, so I had to move them inside so they dry for a couple days. And then eventually once I cut the hole for the sink, I will apply another top coat on here. So it's like more weight, because you can see there's a little rough, but it'll be way more smooth than that. And the newest update is dun 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 dun. I got the plumbing ran. So let's see if I can explain this and get some good lighting on it. So this right here is my city line, which runs right over here above the pumps. This is the on and off valve for the city, you know. And then that's the tank down there. Tank runs up into the filter strainer, or into the pump strainer, which is so no debris get inside the actual water pump. And then this is the water pump, and this is an accumulator, which is basically built up pressure. There's a bladder in there that builds up pressure. A lot of places that have water pumps have them, so you don't lose water pressure. And then you move on along. So from the pump, it goes that way. This is the line. The sink will be right here. Then down that way is the shower cold. And it runs over here into this junction that I made. So this one right here is for my hot water. It'll go to the hot water heater. That'll be right here. The second one right here runs outside to a line for an outdoor hose / sink if I put it out there. And then this third one runs underneath there. As you can see, pop up. Oh, there's a little fitting right there. My water filters will be right there. And then the water filter line will be ran that way up to the sink, to the spigot. But the coolest thing is I made a modification, because usually when you install these pumps, they're super loud because of the vibration. So what I did was cut a piece of foam and glued these sections together. And this is the coolest part, because I've never heard a pump that's this quiet. I'm going to turn on the outside line. Listen how quiet this thing is. You can almost barely hear it. It's very, very quiet compared to a majority of the pumps. And then you'll hear it. I'll shut it off. Yep, built back up pressure. Then your lines are all pressurized. And then, being that I got the accumulator, I can walk right over here, hit this little guy, and then my pump's off, but I still hold pressure in my lines because there's a bladder. So, I mean, like, it doesn't have to be powered on all the time for it to, you know, gain pressure. And other than that, oh yeah, I got the outlet installed for underneath the sink. So I'm gonna cut a hole out here. And then my appliances will be, you know, the appliances like my rice cookers and stuff. The cord will run underneath the counter, so the cord's not hanging out and looking all nasty. I've always hated that. It's the same thing I did over here on the desk. Like, I made an opening right here, so I'll put a power strip underneath the desk, and then the cords can run into the wall, and you won't see all the cords like on top of your desk. And then I finished this little trim piece up here. Can't really see, it's not perfect, but you know, to close this off. Same thing from this side. I made that piece up there, so you know, it closes it off. You know, now I just gotta put basically the face plates on here. You know, they'll be face plates, and they'll be painted black, and then they'll like kick off a little bit like that, and then you put your cabinet on it, which I'm going to use the same exact wood. It's just going to be cut to whatever length that the particular, what do you call it, cabinet door length is going to be. And then I'll cut it like this, and I'll epoxy it, and then that will be my cabinet doors. They'll match. Same thing with the drawers that will go here. And I'll have probably, well, you'll see from this angle right here, probably from here to here will be a slide in and out garbage can. This side will be an open access door, because I'll have a little tiny bit of space right there that I could put soap and what have you. And being that I did the plumbing so good over here, you see how far back it is from these two boards right here. I can actually put a shelf burners. So I can actually have shelves on this side now, which I wasn't positive in the beginning because I didn't know how wide this pump was going to be and how all the plumbing was going to go together. And then it's the same thing on this side above the desk. There'll be drawers that go down there. And then, of course, like before, the freezer, refrigerator will be under here on slides. And I got that outlet mounted up there, which I'll have a power strip somewhere over here that you could plug your appliances, laptops, yada 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 into. And the only other thing I did than that is I got my inverter mounted. So that basically converts 12 volts DC into 120. So basically converts battery power into your standard house AC. And that is temporary right now. But so the batteries will run into a box called a Lynx distributor, which is basically a fuse block with a bunch of fuses, big old fuses, so it protects the system. And then there's a smart shunt that will run from the batteries that will be down there into the smart shunt, which tells you how much is being drawn from the batteries and how much electricity is being drawn throughout the whole system. And that will run into a Lynx distributor, which will run into the inverter, and the inverter will run into the breaker box right there. And the other inverter I'll have automatically will convert, or will switch over from shore power to this inverter if I unplug it from the outside. And then from the Lynx distributor, on here there'll be a DC to DC box that will run up to this little isolator right here. The little isolator runs to the alternator, and that will charge my batteries. And then I'll have a solar MPPT charge controller, which will run down to the batteries, and that will run to the solar panels that will go up into the ceiling, / the external port that I'll put outside for external panels that if I'm not in direct sunlight. And that's pretty much how basic a solar system is. And then it'll be all connected up to Bluetooth apps and yada yada yada, and then I'll have a tablet inside the bus. Oh yeah, I forgot. And I installed this outlet right there. It's got 2 USBs and regular ports, so when you're driving you could charge your phone and everything. And then there's another outlet over there I gotta wire up that'll be to the access for the outside. And then, other than that I got my, I'll show you. I got the little tubage. You can see it. Oh man, where is it at? Little tube. There's the tube that will run, basically is my hose line. Then, this thing's all fancied in. You know, I got it all screwed in. This is your fill port. You stick your hose in there and it gravity feeds. And then this one right here is your city. So you don't use your you don't use your water from your pump. You basically attach it to a hose spigot, and that's your water pressure for the interior. And that is all I have for today.